Ladies and gentlemen, we are here back again. I'm your host, Soul, and here we are again, season 2 of the Soul Sessions. Now, get ready, folks, for we have the Free Bell speech, the Wrestle Beach, the Twitch Beach. Emily Hayden, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Well, hey, it's
Beach.
pleasure to have you here, Emily. So, for our viewers who are not familiar with yourself, how did you fall in love with wrestling?
Oh wow. I need to go as far back as about between 3 and 5 years old.
Mm.
My dad and my brother were my best friends growing up. The two of them, of course, loved wrestling, and I wanted to be part of the gang as well. And yeah, basically, I sat down one day. I was like, "What are you guys watching?" Saw it was Raw. And I distinctly remember this part. It was Chris Jericho's debut when he done the
Oh,
back and forth with The Rock. And instantly, like that, I was hooked. I fell in love. I was like, what is this? What are you guys watching? So it was the entertainment value of that. That's how I got into wrestling. But then the first time I ever seen Lita, and she done her top moonsault or top rope moonsault. And
mm.
I went, girls can do this too. Wait a minute. And that was me. Like, I remember just being like that to my dad. I want to be like her. I want to be like her.
Oh, hey, hook, line, and sinker bring you right into the action. Nothing better than that. Uh, is Lita one of your favorites? Were there other women from that era that really, drove you to start training and fall in love?
Oh wow. So Lita, Trish Stratus, of course, like the iconic feud. Victoria. Uh, those were my top three. So anytime I saw them on the TV, and oh, how can I forget? Of course, China. How can I forget China? The eighth
Absolutely.
wonder of the world.
Absolutely. And China, and hell of a talent in herself for what she'd done, not only just bringing women more in the centerfold and doing stuff that the men could do, being one of
Yep.
the only women to hold the IC title as well. I hope China can hold get into the Hall of Fame soon enough. It's a well deserved spot for
Oh,
her.
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. We have this year coming up. Better time than ever. Sooner the
Mhm.
better, as I like to say, for China get into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Obviously the women from that era would progress into the Divas era. And we've had many guests on
Mhm.
before who were growing up with the Divas era, saying that they love it.
Mhm.
It was for what it's time, but it still got them into it. For someone, for yourself, you would grow up with the Attitude era sort of women, Leah, China, to go into the Divas era. Did you feel okay with change, or was it sort of, oh, it's not what I liked before, but I can still roll with it?
Yeah, like that is the best way to put it for me, to be honest with you. So for me, it was, oh well, this is a bit different. It wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. There was like specific moments of it that I did like. For example, I loved Lay Cool. I thought everything that Lay Cool did was amazing. Especially when they did the storyline with Mickey and they were highlighting bullying. I quite enjoyed
Mm.
that. And they were calling it Piggy James and then Kelly Kelly Smelly Kelly. I loved all that. So yeah, I thought those were really good storylines, and one of my favorites from the Divas era were the Bella Twins. I absolutely love the Bella Twins, which a lot of people are actually quite surprised whenever I say that. But for me, look at what they've evolved into. Like, not only were they great wrestlers, they were great businesswomen. They still are, and they've ventured out into all sorts of different things. So, but going back to the Divas era, might not have been my cup of tea, but there was definitely moments in it where I really enjoyed it, and I could see what they were going for. And it's all part of the evolution process,
Mm.
like trial and error, really.
No, I absolutely as well. You mentioned, the Bella Twins being good businesswomen as well, their own brand, and you would have Total Divas and the Bella shows. It kind of shows that even though they may have not got the proper representation on screen in the ring, they were great business and entertainers to hold a reality show for so long that is loved. Did you love Total Divas as well?
Well, I absolutely love Total Divas. It was one of my favourite things to watch. And the best part for me as well was getting that behind the curtain look.
Mm.
And obviously, we know it's reality TV, but it doesn't take away from the entertainment factor of it. And I recently watched the Bella Twins documentary on the WWE network. And
Ah.
they were even saying, like, it got to a point where girls that would watch Total Divas they would actually tune into Monday Night Raw to see how the storylines would play out,
Mm.
and vice versa. Like for myself, for example, I would always watch Monday Night Raw, and then when I heard about Total Divas, I went and I watched that, and that kind
Mhm.
of got me into reality TV in that sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely loved Total Divas. I loved the Bella twins in it, because that's where we got the birth of Brie mode, and I thought
Oh,
that was phenomenal.
are you someone that loves that Brie mode theme as well? The whole high pitched techno Brie mode.
Oh
Oh,
no, no, no! Like drunk Brie, I absolutely loved like drunk Brie. Like there was always shenanigans with her. My favorite moment ever was when herself and Saraya, then Paige,
mm.
they went on an absolute bender, and then I think it was Brie lost her shoe, so they started singing about why did I lose my shoe, and
I
I
mean,
just
that
thought
just
it
sounds
was
like
the
a typical
funniest
night in
thing
Glasgow
ever.
and Ender.
I was like, I can relate to that, Brie.
Oh, God. Too many nights around the tune. You can totally relate to that. Something very interesting. Well, a lot of people say it's a companion piece. Obviously, the most modern day equivalent is BTE and AEW. You watch AEW, you get the BTE sort of side of it. Do you feel like that's what Total Divas was to the Divas era? Like it really was the precursor to whole BTE and AEW.
Uh, absolutely. Once again, I was also a fan of Being the Elite. And like I'm a big Kenny Omega fan, so of course I was going to watch that. So, but yeah, I feel like with the likes of Total Divas, it opened a lot of doors. For example, we got obviously Total Bellas, and then I feel like BTE put the flip on it because there wasn't quite a market of web series yet
Hmm.
for wrestlers. So I feel like they're obviously like from the top of my head, I remember like Candice LeRae would do vlogs. I
Hmm.
remember that, but there wasn't quite I'm trying to think of the word sketch, like skit sort of a thing
Hmm.
on the go. I know Chris Jericho had a web series as well. But Being the Elite was the first one I distinctly remember being like, oh well, it's showcasing a lot of talent that I've not quite heard of,
Hmm.
and it's also showcasing kind of a, oh well, these people are really good wrestlers, but they're also really good characters, and here's why. So there was that value of it as well. So I definitely think Total Divas and Total Bellas and such, it definitely did open the door to those sort of avenues. But Being the Elite was its own beast. Like that created its own sort of a genre as well of wrestling web series.
Hmm. Very well. You could look at each show and be like, they are a creation of their time.
Mhm.
You go back there, there's early 2000s, BT being late 2010 sort of, and it's like, yeah, they're great for what they were, and in the time period they
Mhm.
existed, they elevated the talent and what they would eventually start the companies they would become.
Mhm.
Very good way of looking at it. Now, Emily, to yourself as well, training. How did you finally take the plunge into training to become a professional wrestler?
Well, that's an interesting story. So I actually started training back in September of 2012. So that's how long ago it was. And I'd started college in the August of 2012, and it was a computing course I was doing. So we were talking about the SummerSlam pay-per-view of that year. Me and some of my friends in the class, and this boy turned around to me and he said, oh, you like wrestling? Would you ever actually do it? And I just thought he was ribbing me. I thought he was like he was just, oh, let's make fun of the girl that's in the class, And I just kind of looked at him and I was like, yeah, why? Like kind of a bit suspicious. Like, okay, what's going on here? And he was like, my sister does it. And that way I was kind of like, right, okay, good one, haha. No way you have a sister that does it. Because I thought at the time you only had to like go to America to do wrestling,
Oh.
And he was like, no, no, really, like she is a wrestler. So we went back into the classroom and he jumped on the Mac and he typed in Premier British Wrestling, and he showed me photos of her as a wrestler and he was like, that's my sister. There she is again. There she is again. And I was like, wow, we actually have a Scottish wrestling scene. I did not know that. My mind was blown. So I said to him, okay, give me the details. Where am I going? How much is it? How long are the classes? So he gave me all the information and I went along to, which surprisingly, uh, it was just around the corner from where I used to stay. So I took that as a sign. Yep, I have to go. I have to give it a try. Like it was one of those ones where I didn't really want to have the regret of not trying.
Mhm.
So when that moment arose and I saw that it was around the corner from me, I was like, yep, I have to go give it a bash. And I went along for my first day of training, and I trained with TJ Rage. He was my first ever coach. And I remember I was like so shy my first day. I didn't take part. I just watched, and I'm just kind of in the background, like, oh, like this isn't what I thought. Like, 'cause we were training on mats. So there wasn't a ring, so it was kind of, oh, what's going on here? And then I was feeling quite intimidated because I was the only girl. And here's another fun fact: on my first day of training, Kenny Williams was actually in that class.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm looking at him, and like just how talented Kenny is. So I'm looking at him, and I'm going, okay, like I definitely can't do all that. So, so I watched my first day, and TJ came up to me after, and he said, "Is this something that you would like to do?" And I always remember this. I turned around and I looked at him, and I went, "Yep, I definitely want to give this a try." The following week, I took part, and the rest is history. I got the wrestling bug.
Yeah, wow. Well, God, well done there. I mean, a hell of a start to your journey as well. Now, obviously, you mentioned, Scottish wrestling scene. One of the most important companies to the Scottish wrestling scene is ICW, a
Hmm.
great company in itself. And I want to know, you've been involved with ICW. I want to know, how did you initially get involved with the company?
Oh wow. So years and years ago, um, I got involved. This was the year that I debuted, so 2014. So this was at the time that they were doing, I believe it was called Space Buzz, and they needed myself, another girl, and Isla Dawn.
Oh,
She was needed as well, and essentially we were booked to make Layla Rose. We were booked to like get attacked by Layla Rose and make her look really good and such. So that was like my first taster. So I got to like do the job for someone. So that was my first taster of that, and it was actually so much fun. Like all the girls were lovely, so it was a good way of me starting to build those relationships,
hmm,
especially because that was my foot in the door. So then we fast forward a couple of years. So we fast forward to 2020. Obviously, we know everything that happened with that.
yeah.
So it was, I believe, October of 2020 that one of the producers, Scott Reed, got in touch with me, and he was saying, "Listen, we're doing closed tapings. We're taking everything very seriously. They had all the precautions in place. We had to
Hmm,
wear our masks. There was always hand sanitizers on the go, and we had our little bubbles that we had to work in, and we would constantly be testing and whatnot." So when he explained all that to me, because I was a bit apprehensive considering the pandemic,
hmm,
so when he explained that to me, no, we've got all the precautions in place. These are all the reasons in which we will keep you safe, and you'll be able to perform safely. So I was like, great, that's fine. So I went along and I did my first ever closed taping, and that was one of the most scariest things I've ever done, because I remember thinking, well, I usually play a lot with the crowd.
hmm,
How am I going to get myself over if there's no crowd? And then it was actually Jack Jester, because he was aging. He said to me, "Think of the camera as your crowd. Think of the camera as your crowd, and play to the camera." And as
hmm.
soon as he said that, it was as if like the fear just gone, and like that. I was like, right, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing. I was like laser focused, and I always remember the first match that I taped. Uh, I did exactly that. Just kept talking to the camera. I thought, well, if nobody's here, I'm going to talk to this camera. They're going to know who Wrestle Beach is, and yeah. As much as it was a scary time, I do look back fondly on those closed tapings, because
Hmm.
it was like you were in the trenches together, and you were going through it together, and it built a lot of really good relationships. Like that was where I first met Ellie Armstrong, for example, and I think she's this really talented up and comer, and I think this will be her year. And yeah, so absolutely, I I honestly, if I could do closed tapings again, I would, but I prefer the crowd being there.
Yeah, no, hey, I mean, that's very interesting now, because we had the Rev Pro women's champion Alex Winder on the show, and Alex talked
Mhm.
about the comparison between British and Japanese crowds and how you got to cater to different needs. But for you to work with no crowds, do you feel like that's going to be a great asset to having your skill? Like, yeah, I've worked in front of no people before.
Mhm.
It's a skill I'm going to have as a wrestler in the future.
Well, 100%, because if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't have the crowd to cater to, I feel like with the closed tapings, that's what helped me work towards the camera.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, Jack Jester, he was superb in terms of aging, because he was saying to me, work the camera, there's the hard cam here, you've got the cam that follows you here, and it helped me get to know where I had to be, and I would speak to the cameraman sometimes as well, and I would ask them, would this be okay if I did this here? Would you prefer it here? So it gave me an idea of what worked better to the camera. So I feel like because I had no crowd, it benefited me greatly, because in the past, I would be a bit clumsy, if you will, with the camera. I wouldn't really know where to look, or where I should really be. But now, thanks to the closed tapings, I have a better understanding of it, and I have a better knowledge of it. So in future, whenever I'm working cameras now, I know exactly where to look, I know exactly where to stand, and I can play about with it a little bit more.
No, good. No, it's good. That's a great thing to hear because I've heard some wrestlers always say the hard camera is always hard to adjust to. You're trying to cater to the people there, but you've got to cater to the people at home, and it's always a bit
Mm,
of a hassle to organize yourself, where you're pointing, where you're showing off in the ring. Now,
mhm,
obviously, with ICW as well, we've had previous guests on who've been involved with the company: Shaman A, Daisy Jenkins, Nicole Jasmine,
mhm.
and they've always talked about their favorite moments from the company's history. Anyway, for yourself, what is your favorite particular history from ICW?
Oh, wow. Right. Okay. So I've got a couple.
Oh,
So my first favorite was um when the lights went out, and it was Mark Coffey was in the ring, so the lights went out, and then Finn Balor just appeared on the top rope, and he was in the carnage. He was in the carnage paint, and it was just, I remember like watching this, like 'cause I was doing merch at the time, like at the site. So I was like watching, I was like, that is so cool. So that was one of my favorite moments. So when Finn Devitt made his appearance like that, I thought that was awesome. He looked like a superhero, and I was into that. And then of course one of my all time favorites as well, because this is how I found out about ICW. Kaylee Ray with the balcony dive.
oh,
Yep. Need I say more? Need I
no,
say more?
you need to not say more. And I tend every viewer, if you've not seen that spot, get your arse to YouTube and get that typed in and find out because
Mhm.
it's a spot and a half. I mean, me personally, I always loved the good old Joe Hendry intros. The man
That
is a
Jester
brilliant.
in my room, that's my favorite.
Yeah, that is a good. I actually kind of like the Mr. Anderson one, the Pokemon one, because it's just kind of
Oh,
it's always a laugh that one. I mean, the recent one he did with Matt Cardona and Brian Myers and Impact, Edge's bitch was a the man still got
oh,
it.
oh, I actually cried from laughing so hard at that. It was I always say this all the time, like Joe's got this way of like where you think he's taking it this way, then he comes like left field, and you're like, wow, like I was not expecting that.
No, yeah, the man is a true talent,
Hi
and
Kat,
we
just
got a
my cat
special
just
guest
went
for the
to sleep.
show.
Hi
Hey,
Goki Cat, are you saying hello?
I
This is Goku. He likes the camera, just so you all know. When I would do my Twitch streams, he liked being on camera.
how it was
You
always
like the
well.
attention, don't you?
He's not paying attention because he's not been paid for his interviews. I'm guessing.
Do you have a favorite ICW moment? Joe Hendry as well? Yeah, that's a good one.
I think so as well, big man. That's a good call right there. I'm absolutely proud of that. Now, you mentioned some people have been involved with ICW. Stacey Jenkins is one of them, who's been, a graduate from Fight Pro Wrestling Asylum. And I believe you came up to there to do some lessons with them. So just want to know what your time was at FPWA.
I thoroughly enjoyed my session at FPWA. Like I said, about like building relationships and whatnot. So there's a few girls that I knew. So Ruby Roberts, for example, and Molly Spartan was there,
Mhm.
and Anastasia. So those were a few of the girls that I knew. And then that was the first time that I ever met Beth Shorty. So that was the first time I ever met her. Daisy unfortunately wasn't at that session, so I hadn't met her yet. But I was actually saying this to Daisy at the Discovery Wrestling show last year in November.
Mm.
I was saying to her like how I feel like our ships passing in the night where we were always like just missing each other. So but going back to the classes, Andy's got this demeanour about him where he's so patient and he has a great way of explaining things to you, because sometimes I'll get a bit muddled and I call myself the parrot sometimes because most of the time when I'm in training, if someone says something to me, I need to say it back to myself just so it sticks. So I'll be like, all right, you're going to hit the ropes, and then you're going to take a back bump, then you're going to take this, and you're going to take this, and I go, hitting the ropes, take back bump, take this, take that. Okay. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my session, and again, I was very fortunate to be in with a group of talented and positive females, because if you were in the ring, the other girls would be at the side and be like, "Oh, come on, Emily! Like you've got this! Like you're doing great! That's it! Get
Mhm.
back up!" And it would be the same, like you're outside, and you're shouting at me, like, "Come on, Anastasia! You got this!" Like, so yeah, uh, thoroughly enjoyed those classes. I'm very much looking forward to when they start up again, because I'm planning on going back. Absolutely.
Oh, well,
Andy is just honestly like, well, at the time, because obviously he's had his little change now, but at the time he was one of the most loveliest men that I worked with. Very brilliant coach, very
oh,
brilliant.
absolutely. The man's talented as hell. You and Daisy's ships have crossed paths again. Daisy was on at the end of season 1. You're here at the beginning of
Yep.
season 2. Ships crossing again. Who knows? Maybe another time
Just
you'll
missing each
cross.
other. It's like, Daisy, hit me
Exactly.
up. Like, we actually need to like get a match sorted.
Well, I mean, we've had plenty of guests in the Soul Sessions face one another. Ashley Vega and Daisy Jenkins, Shayman
Hmm.
A and Visage,
Hmm.
Shalonso Royale and KJ Impala, Emily Hayden
Oh
versus
wow.
Daisy Jenkins. I'm pretty much everyone on the show after they come off it just likes to fight one another. I'm like Fight Club here. I'm hosting the fight pits or something like that.
But first rules, you don't talk about Fight Club, so
We'll edit that out. We'll make sure that's
we'll
bleeped for
end at
the
that.
things. Now, obviously going back to ICW, sadly ICW would be taken off the WWE network,
Hmm.
and now they're hosting their own on-demand service. For yourself, seeing your matches when they were on the network, was that a big sense of accomplishment? Like, wow, my matches are on the network with other great talents like Lita in the past. Now we've got
Yeah.
Bianca Belair, Ronda Rousey. You must have felt like, wow, I've made it.
Yeah, absolutely. It actually didn't hit me until after the first set of tapings, because Scott Reed, one of the ICW producers, he came up to me and he actually said to me like, "Oh, and like you'll get to actually watch it on the WWE network. That's really cool." And I was kind of like, "Oh, okay." And it was just like, I was like just this overwhelming feeling went over me at first, and I was like, I can't believe I get to be on the WWE network. And then it was that kind of a, no, where it starts to like build and it starts to build, and I was just like, I can't believe I'm going to be on the WWE network. I can't believe I'm going to be on the WWE network. And then, but the biggest accomplishment for me was I got home that night and I messaged my dad and I said, I'm going to be in the WWE network wrestling for ICW. And he messaged me back, and I still have the message saved. And he said, "I'm so proud of you. I knew that you'd be able to accomplish so much, and you need to let me know when your match is on the network so I can watch it."
Oh,
So, and then of course when the match went up a couple of weeks later, of course, I said to my dad. My dad messaged me back, and he was like, "Oh, he calls me M, so it's M. That was amazing. You've came on leaps and bounds. Can't believe I get to say my girl's on the network. Of course, I'm going to be telling all my pals that."
oh,
So
nice.
that was the moment for me where I felt like, well, I've made it. Like, this is something, a full circle moment for me. This is something I used to watch my dad, and now I get to say to him, check out one of my matches on the network. And yeah, so I was very happy with that moment. And there's nothing quite like being able to type your name into the network and your matches come up.
Yeah,
and
Yeah, I
just
could.
like sitting there, and I cried like the first time. I was like, oh my
Oh,
god, like
that I mean, I couldn't imagine as a wrestler. You grew up loving this. You then get to make magic
Mhm.
in the ring, and then get to find your matches on the platform of one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world.
Yep,
God, I couldn't imagine that. That must be surreal as shit, man.
yep,
Now,
yep.
Ollie, you have some championships, Emily. You do have some belts and gold,
Mhm.
for Free WL, Pro 2, and UCW. I just want to know, having that many championships, do you feel like an extra bit of pressure on yourself, or you're just like, you know what, I've earned it, I can handle it?
It's one of those ones. I would say, of course, I have moments where I go, yeah, I earned this. Like, you need to have a bit of an ego about you in this business, but at the same time, um, I do feel that pressure on myself because for UCW and W3L, for example, I'm the longest reigning women's champion of both companies. So there is that pressure on myself, and I felt like going back to like the first time I ever won the WFL Women's Championship. That was my first ever title,
Mhm,
and I actually got to wrestle my wrestle Jayla Dark for it. So that was a cool moment. And the first time I won it, so that was 2018. And I always say 2018 was kind of the lost year, if you will, because
mhm,
that's when I was really struggling with my mental health. I'd put on a lot of weight. It was the biggest that I'd ever been. So I was struggling with a lot. I had a lot of personal issues and whatnot. So when I won the belt the first time, I didn't really feel like I deserved it. I didn't really feel like I'd earned it. And I remember I was sitting myself at home. I got home and I was sitting and I just kind of I looked at the belt and I went, I feel like I don't deserve this right now. I don't necessarily feel like a champion.
mhm,
And I swore to myself that day, by 2019, I would be up there with Viper, Doudrop, Nikki Storm, Nikki Cross, Casey and Leah Owens,
mhm,
uh, Serena Rose now, Sarah. I would be up there as one of the historic champions for W3L, and I did. That year, I got myself in shape.
mhm,
I started training harder, hitting it harder, worked on my promo skills a lot more, and then when it came to the September of 2019, so a full year later, once again I wrestled Jayla Dark. That was her last ever Scottish match. It was a street fight.
oh,
Uh, who better to book me into a street fight than my WrestleMa? That's her wheelhouse. So it was like a full circle moment there. And I remember I won it that time, and I was like, "Yep, I deserve it this time. I've earned
mhm,
it. I've you got yourself out that really depressive spot that you were in, and look at you now a year later, go you sort of a thing." So yeah, I would say like I put pressure on myself in that regard.
mhm,
But to be brutally honest with you, if you're not putting pressure on yourself in wrestling, you kind of just coast, and what's the point in that?
mhm,
Like I've been immensely putting pressure on myself, especially for this year, because I'm
mhm,
determined that this is going to be the year of the beach, and a lot of big and bad things are going to happen. So if I don't put that pressure on myself, how am I expected to make these things happen? So I welcome the pressure,
mhm.
but yeah, definitely, I feel like there is the pressure, but I thrive with it. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
Ah, yeah, absolutely. It's like you're given the opportunity. You know it's going to be tough. You know it's going to be a very
Mhm.
long and challenging road, but it's a road you're willing to walk down. And it may
Yep.
be tough. It may be shit. You may have some bumps and grounds in the road,
Yep.
but that end destination is going to be all worth it in the end.
Yep, 100%.
Absolutely. Now for Pro 2 as well, I know you would face another previous guest of the show actually, Nicole Jasmine at Brawl at the
Yep.
Hall 2. I just want to know, facing Nicole, what was that like?
So facing Nicole, I'd wrestled her once prior to that match. I had to think there. I was like, that was prior, wasn't it? So she competed UCW for a shot at my championship, and she lost. But
Uh,
but in all seriousness, though, it was an enjoyable match, and the fact that one of my good friends, Shay Monet, got to be the special guest ref, that was so much fun. And we just had a laugh, and And I get to say that Nicole was part of a historic moment for me, which was winning the Pro 2 Women's Championship. So it's cool that I get to share that moment with someone that I consider a friend, you know.
Mhm.
So I was very happy. I was very happy with everything, and can't wait to see what else Nicole does. You know,
Nah, absolutely.
give her some time. Like I think in a couple of years' time, like she's gonna be the name that we're all talking about.
No, exactly. And viewers, I would recommend you check out her episode as well. It was a great talk for talk about her future and
Yep.
everything. So that'd be a great one. But you mentioned Shay Monet there. Shay Monet, as well as a previous guest of the show, and with Visage, they've formed the United Queendom down in TNT.
I love that name because right away I thought of the IT crowd. You know
Oh,
the episode where they go to the work night out,
oh
and
god, I forgot about that.
the guy says in the opening, "Welcome to the United Queendom," and that's exactly what I thought of, and I was just like, "Well done, Shay. Well done, Visage. That is amazing."
An absolute banger of a name for a group. But groups are
Yep.
meant to be expanded. New people come in. If Shay came to you, Emily, and was like, "There's a spot," would you accept a spot in the United Queendom?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't? Like honestly, like I love Shay. I love Shay to bits. I've been there since bloody Shay started training, you know. And Shay and I had a match on Respect Pro Wrestling's last ever show. So that
Mm,
was special for me from that regard because Shay and I have always wanted a match together to do an intergender, and we got to do it. And I remember there was things that I was saying to Shay, oh well, I kind of want to do this move and I kind of want to do this move, but I don't know. And I remember he pulled me in the ring that day and he was like, Emily, you're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be awesome. And then I got backstage and it was like I hadn't done a Hurricane Rana in so long. And he was like, "No, we're doing it." So I did a Hurricane Rana and I did a hesitation drop kick, and this was all stuff that I used to do like when I first debuted. And I got backstage and everyone was like, "I've never seen you do that." It was cool. And
oh,
and I said to Shay like, thank you. Like you pushed me out my comfort zone. That's exactly what I needed. So I always speak so highly of Shay. Like Shay is someone that you can go to, and not only is he encouraging and motivating, but he really does push you out the comfort zone, and he pushes you to be a better version of yourself when you're wrestling. So if he came to me and he said, Emily, me and Visage want you in your United Queendom, I would be like, yes, in a heartbeat, especially with the stuff that they've been doing in TNT.
mhm.
I've been watching the clips and honestly it looks like they're having a ball. I know what Shay's like. Shay's always got the gears flowing for the creativity. So I cannot wait to see with the stuff that him and Visage come up with. Very excited. And I'm still waiting on my email to join the United Kingdom, but that's okay.
Well, I figure. Well, now I know what we're clipping from this interview again on the Instagram. Now I'm tagging you, Shay, Visage, both of my guests. Come on, we have an opening spot now. Get Emily in the Queendom. Can see her at Effie's big gay brunch coming over to the UK. GCW versus TNT. Plenty of opportunities are on the table. Let's get it
Oh yeah,
done.
plenty of opportunities. And another thing with Shane Visage as well, it's like knowing knowing what the two of them can be like creatively. It's going to be insane the stuff that they do together. It's going to be insane. I cannot wait to see. Honestly,
Oh, it is going to be something. Now, to move away
yep,
from wrestling, I know you have your Twitch, Emily, and
yep.
I just want to talk about video games. I love a good old video game. I've got many consoles, too many that are piling through the window. I want to know for you, what's the best game to play and relax on Twitch?
Oh wow. Right away I'm gonna say Stardew Valley. That
Oh,
was my go-to all the time on Twitch. I took a little break from Twitch because of personal reasons, but
mhm.
I'm actually thinking about going back to it soon, because I've more or less got everything set up now. So
Oh, nice.
but yeah, but Stardew Valley, that is my favorite to play. It's whenever I need to chill out, whenever I'm feeling a bit stressed, it's Stardew Valley is my go-to game. And honestly, I've never had so much fun. It's actually gotten to the point where it's that relaxing a game that when I sit and play it, my partner, he loves the music from it, so he'll like come in from like the kitchen or something. He'll actually sit down and he'll just watch me play.
It's very much the same. I play a lot of Final Fantasy, and my mates are like, "Man, that's a banger."
I love Final Fantasy. I'm actually
Oh,
playing Crisis Core Reunion right now. I'm
oh,
on chapter 7.
nice.
Ah,
It's good.
Zach
It's
Fair
good.
is my boy. I love Zach. So
Oh, of course, love Zach. Zach is a great character. I'm more of a I like Tifa. Tifa thinks a great character as
yeah,
well. But I
Tifa's
mean,
great. She's got a great backstory. So
oh, I absolutely the whole her and Cloud. Well, in case I'm not going to say spoilers for a game that's nearly 20 years old now, in case someone's not seen it. But let's actually talk about Final Fantasy because we had Blanco Loco on from the States, and he was a big Final Fantasy guy. He talked about 7 being his favorite. For me, my favorite is 14. I think 14 is
really,
absolutely. I mean, before 14 it was 13. I really
yeah.
like
Ah,
13.
well, okay.
But what for you? What was your favorite Final Fantasy?
13 was okay. It's just it very different from what I was used to, because my go tos that I say that are my all time favourites are Final Fantasy 7, of course. Need I
Mm.
say more? So best believe I screamed like a little fangirl when Kenny Omega did the Sephiroth entrance, and he got
Oh,
permission to use Sephiroth's theme because I was not expecting that. So I was like,
hey, that
but,
I was. Hey, I was the same as you. That was fucking awesome.
honestly, if there was ever a moment where like my two loves could meet, it was that. It was like Final Fantasy and wrestling and just like that. And I was like, Kenny Omega, that's another reason why I love you. and
Absolutely.
um and then another one I would say is 10. Because 10 was the one where I remember I got like so emotionally invested with the story as well that I got a little bit teary eyed like at the ending. I was like, oh, I can't believe
On
what
that.
happened. I'm
10,
like
10 is
trying not to
10 is
spoil like a game
emotional.
that's been out for like years as well, but
It's on the PS4 store, PSN store. Get your arse
mm,
there. It's on a sale. Get it downloaded. I mean, I like 13. I think it's too hated, but I think it's fun. 14, 14 is just fucking amazing. But what about 15? I feel like 15 gets too much hate.
I loved 15. I loved
Absolutely
everything about it. I actually platinumed it because I loved it that much.
same. Loved it. The whole Antoine Tortoise fight as well. Noctis and the boys. It was
How
just a
long
whole.
did it take you to do the Adamantoise fight? I always need to ask people when I find out they played 15.
Maybe about 25 minutes.
You're lucky. It took me like 3 hours.
Yeah, it was tough. It was one of the last trophies I got, and it was researching the right magic spells, equipment, going to high level shit,
Ugh.
and I was like, right, sorted, plan sorted, attack. I've got a cuddy here, 3 bottles of coke, banger, let's go.
I was the same. I had like my canned eye and brew beside me, like, right, let's go. Like, I know I'm in this for the long haul. And I remember my dad was like, why are you putting like so much time into this game? And I was like, Dad, you just don't get it. It's Final Fantasy, okay?
And then they said, can you pause it and just come downstairs? I was like, no, I can't. The intenseness is right now. I'm like 2% about to complete this. Can you bother me?
Dad, I'm only like 2 slashes away from killing this turtle, all right?
It's very much that. And we've got 16 coming along as well. I want to know, are you
Mhm.
hyped for 16?
Oh, I'm very hyped. Like I'm very fortunate where my brother, again, shout out my brother, he's into a lot of the same things as me, and
Mm.
he's very savvy in the sense where if there's a trailer for something out right away like that, I get the link and it's like, look, it's coming out. So any sort of a trailer that's been out for 16, I've been on the ball in that sense, thanks to him. It was the same with Last of Us when they announced
Oh,
that they were doing the actual show and the trailer got released. It was like, there's the trailer, and I was like, oh my god. And then literally last night he messaged me and he said, it got renewed for season 2. And I messaged him and I was like, he's just about to message you. So yeah, I'm very hyped for 16. It seems to be that they've kind of I've noticed with a lot of the later games, so like 13 and 14 and 15, they've kind of made it more. Try to think how to say it, like set kind of a more futuristic. It's got the more
mhm.
futuristic look to it, more modern look. Whereas I feel like 16, they've kind of stripped it back, and it does look kind of a more like the older Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially with the summons, like I noticed, like the summons kind of had more of that. I would say probably about like Final Fantasy V sort of a look about them, you know? Like
Very
same
much.
with the actual costumes of some of the characters. It looks like more so costumes that you would see in like Final Fantasy 3, 4, 5, and 6 sort of a things. So I was like, okay, so we're gonna like take it back now. Because I think it was it 12 was the last one where it properly centered on like kingdoms, like full on with
Yeah.
kingdoms. I know 15 had the kingdoms in it, but 12 it was like I always say that was the more political game, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when 15 has an Audi R8 in it, and then you go from a 16 where
Exactly.
it's like, oh, it's a nice little
It's
kingdom
Florence and
set.
the Machine singing Stand By Me.
Oh god, yeah. And then they had the film as well with Aaron Paul, Lena Hendry in it, and Kingsglaive. I like
Oh,
that film. I think it's good. I think 15 gets too much
I,
hate.
I thought it was really good. Obviously, like my all time favourites, Advent Children, especially Advent Children Complete, when it's like all the extended footage. Because there was bits with Zach, I was like, oh, it's my boy Zach. But
Oh,
Spirits Within was all right as well. I felt like that got a lot of hate, and I was like,
oh,
it's an original concept. Like, I don't really get why there's so much hate. It's like if I was playing Spirits Within as a game, this is how I guess I would imagine it, you know.
mhm.
But yeah, Advent Children though is the bomb. That's the all time favorite. But the one
Advent-
with like you say, Anne Paul and Lena Headey, it did get a lot of hate, but I thought it was all right. I enjoyed it.
exactly. Too much hate around in the world at the moment. Come on, just enjoy the shit.
That's
Have fun.
a lot of negativity. It's like just shut up and actually play a Final Fantasy game and enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is. It's fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, obviously you mentioned Kenny Omega coming out with Sephiroth's music.
Mhm.
Emily, if you had to pick a Final Fantasy character to have a gear based around, who are you picking?
Oh, that's a toughie. Mm. If I could somehow, I would need to do like justice for my boy Zach. If I could
Mm,
somehow put it around Zach, that'd be sweet. I would say Tifa, but Lana Austin's already beat me to it.
no.
But she and I have kind of got like a fangirly relationship of each other because when she put up the photo of her as Tifa, I was like, oh my god, I love this. And then she replied, like, I knew you would say that. Anytime she and I see each other, we always talk Final Fantasy. So, so yeah, she
Oh,
beat me to it with the Tifa one. So did Shida. Shida beat
mm,
me to it as well because she did the Tifa inspired. So if I was going to be completely different, because Kenny's done Sephiroth, Lana and Shida did Tifa, I would probably do Zack or maybe I would do like Pain from FFX2. That'd be
ooh.
like quite out there, and that's kind of into my gothy aesthetic. So I could do something like that.
Oh, nice. Well,
That'd
you
be
mentioned
sweet if I did that.
how would be good. You mentioned Goffy Sweaty. What about Jack Garland from the Final Fantasy Origins game? You know, the one from Team Ninja. That's like the third combat one. He has the big, massive armor and the
Oh,
horn.
right. That's a good shout, actually. You've got me thinking now. I'm like, which ones could I actually get like gear around?
You're gonna pull out the whole planner and like, right, everyone, shut up, markers, and just like, yep, this
Get
this
like
will
all the
work.
concept art out. Like, right, okay, I'll take bits from that. I'll take bits from that.
Well, it seems like we've got your gear expired for the rest of the year.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I need to
Now,
get like Legend of Zelda inspired gear as well because I've got a replica Master Sword done there, so kind of a want to
ooh,
swing that about at some point in the show.
oh, nice. Would you come up with a whole Majora's Mask as well?
Well, I have a Majora's Mask as well, so I could do that.
Oh, perfect. Your gear is sorted for the rest of the year.
Yep, that's me sorted. If
Done.
anyone wants
And
to see me cosplaying at wrestling shows, then let me know.
exactly. Let Emily know. Now, obviously, you mentioned your Twitch as well. We see WWE, in the past, would limit that.
Hmm.
They would take away their talent's right to do that. For
Yep.
you, someone who was a wrestler and doing this as well, and you would hear that news, it was sort of like a hard blow to yourself as well. It was like, wow, I understand these
Yeah.
people have a love of expression through their connection to their fans. If that happened to you, I understand you would probably be like, wow, this is terrible.
Yeah. Absolutely. No,
No.
I personally I didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with that. It's like you say, it's an individual's way of expressing themselves. Of like, I know people don't really see gaming as art, but when you put it to a Twitch stream and it's like you're providing the commentary, you're providing the entertainment, it's not just you. Like I know some people do it, but when I do it personally, it's not just me just sitting there playing a game. I'm interacting with people, I'm building that rapport with my fans. It's a great interaction tool, and it's like I
Mhm.
know we've got social media, but for me, I don't feel more relaxed than when I'm sitting playing a video game, you know. So when I'm feeling relaxed and chill, like what's a better way for me to sit and interact with my fans, you know?
Yeah.
And we're all having a good time, and it's a good community. And so yeah, I personally didn't agree with that. Like, I think you should freely be able to express yourself in that regard.
Exactly. As a way to connect with your audience and them to connect with you. It's a great source of
Mhm.
community. No way
Yep.
to limit that. And obviously, Emily, we mentioned before you were a champion, but there's many other female champions out there in the world right now. If you had to pick a current reigning and defending women's champion to face in the ring at anywhere of your choice, who would you pick?
Hmm. Oh, that's a good question. Right. Oh, I need to sit and have a think about this. Who would I want to wrestle? I'm like, who would I want to wrestle? um, oh, that's a toughie. Like, you've actually
Yeah.
put me on the spot. Like, I'm like,
Well,
oh.
I'll throw out some recommendations. We have Bianca Belair, the Raw Women's Champion, Charlotte Flair, the
Mhm,
SmackDown
mhm.
Women's Champion. We have Roxanne Perez, the NXT Women's Champion. We have Jamie Hayter, the AEW Women's Champion. Mickey James is the
Oh,
current Knockouts Champion.
see, I know Mickey's the current Knockouts champion. As much as I would love to wrestle her, I really want to wrestle Jamie Hayter. I really want to
Oh,
wrestle Jamie.
that would be a
Because
very
she's a hard hitter and I'm a hard hitter, I feel like we can make some magic happen, you know?
a pure hard hitting match. I mean, we've had Alex Windsor on. She had the Red Pro Champion. So did Jamie. She wants to
Mhm,
face Jamie as well. Jamie Hayter looks like
mhm.
she's got a few competitions lined up from here on the Soul Session. So, oh boy, Jamie
Just
better be
all
prepared.
of us in a line, just like waiting for an opportunity like this, you know?
All just lining up and prepared. Now, obviously, I like to always ask my guests, 10 years down the line, you're advanced in your career and you can get a chance to
Mhm,
sign for one of these big companies around there. AEW, WWE, Impact, even Stardom and New Japan with their women's roster going up
mhm.
there. For yourself, Emily, is there somewhere you want to get to in the future of your career?
Absolutely. My two biggest places that I would love to get to. So first of all, Japan. I've always wanted to go to Japan. When I discovered like how much of a big wrestling scene over there, I was like perfect. Because before I even knew about the scene, I was always just a wee Japanophile, you know. I love the culture, I love my anime, I love my manga, I love my video games. So I was like, that's just a match made in heaven for me. So um but the more that I've spoken to a lot of the women that have went over, for example, one of my besties, I call her my sis, Aisha Newman, she's currently there right now. So whenever I talk to her about the wrestling scene over there, it really hypes me up and it really makes me want to go over there and give it a go. Same with Emerson Jane because she's been over and I've asked her. Whenever I get the chance, I always try and pick her brain about it as well. So when she's told me in the past about it, she said a lot of really good things. Same with Kaylee Ray, Alba Fire.
Mm,
When she went over and did many tours with Stardom, she had nothing but positive things to say about it as well. Same with Viper Dewdrop. She had nothing but positive things to say about it as well. And the way that they built it up with the training and then just living life over there, like I feel like it'd be a really good experience. Uh and then my wrestle manager Dark, she'd been to Japan a bunch of times, but I distinctly remember when it was her last ever tour before she retired, she had
mhm,
nothing but nice things to say. And she said that it's something that I should experience before I even think about retiring and whatnot. So with all these positive influences in my life, I feel like Japan, if they're all saying that would be a good experience for me, then that would be a good experience for me.
mhm.
So I would absolutely love to go to Japan and give that a bash, even just to say that I tried, you know. And another one for me, I really want to try and break out in America, like, but I feel like
Okay.
everyone always says that. But for me, it's got to a point where I think I can say that I'm a regular not just in Scotland, but I'm starting to branch out kind of all over the UK.
Hmm.
So I would really love to try and crack America because it's one of those ones I feel like not a lot of women in the United Kingdom really break out in America. Not a
Hmm.
lot of them can say that. So if I could be like one of the few that could do that, that'd be pretty cool. Again, even if I just had like one time that I got to go to America and I got to say that I did it, like I would be so happy. So yeah, like I've not got like any specific places in mind. I would really say, um, like there's never been like a permanent like oh I be in WWE or oh it's kind of always chopped and changed because like right now for me it's Impact. I've really been enjoying watching the women's division in Impact,
Hmm.
so I would like to give that a bash as well.
No, hey, if Emily Hayden, future Knockouts champion, has a good ring to it, I would definitely
Oh
happy to see
yeah,
that in the future. Now I need
knockout
to.
beat.
Oh, I need to pick your mind on this, Emily. You mentioned your love of anime and all that. We had Kid Bandit
Mm.
on, and Kid Bandit they talked about how they loved
Oh,
My
Kid
Hero
Bandit.
Academia. Kid's amazing. I love Kid. Kid's an absolute talent. But Emily, what is your kind of go-to favorite anime? I need to know.
Oh, right away because it's on my shelf right there. I've got two. So the first one's Helsing, and the reason I love
Oh.
Helsing was because, um, so back in the day when I was growing up, obviously it was like Pokemon and for
Hmm.
me Sailor Moon was a big factor. So that's one of my favorites. I love Sailor Moon. They're actually bringing out a new movie this year, so I'm
Yeah.
heavy buzzing for it. So Helsing for me, it was because of the contrast, because you would have like your bright and colours like
Hmm.
Pokemon, and it was all bright and chippery and cheerful. And then it was like Helsing was the first anime I always remember, and it was like quite dark and like not just like with the stories, I mean like with the actual colour styles as well. So it was very dark, and obviously like because it focuses on vampires as well, and I love my horror stuff. So this is quite interesting. And then also Soul Eater because I'm looking at it right now. I've got the full collection up there. Soul Eater is one of my favorites. Like I liked my favorite character was Death the Kid, and it was because he had to have everything symmetrical.
Oh
And I
yeah.
was like, with my OCD, I relate to that. So,
Death
like
is a
when
good one.
it's the episode when he goes into the cave and it's to get Excalibur. I think that's I just like that's hilarious.
Oh no, it's still here. It's definitely a good one. And you mentioned Helsing is there. Are you talking about the original Helsing or Helsing Ultimate?
Oh no, the original Hellsing because remember when like you could get all like the anime episodes and stuff on YouTube back in the day, like when
Oh, and it was split into
it was a
5
thing.
parts at 240p.
Yep, yep.
Oh,
And I'm sitting there watching part one, part two, part three, part four, like the first episode, and then I just kept doing it. So I've got my fond memories of me just like on the computer, like, all right, okay, that's part two, right?
and it would be like slightly off to the screen as well, or not optimized
Yeah,
right. And you're like, I'm trying to learn the plot here, but it's a bit. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. I'm not too sure. I'll have to wait until I can actually physically purchase it. And then you're like, oh, I missed this whole section of subplot. Holy shit, it's like a new experience viewing now. I mean, me
you're
personally,
like,
I
is that a bazooka she's pulled out? I think so.
exactly
Like,
what
like
the
zoom
hell.
in. Like.
I mean, me personally, my favorite anime is Code Geass. I love Code
Oh,
Geass.
that is a good one.
Absolutely, Lelouch V. Pichania is the best character. Zero. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I like recommend that show high enough to anybody. But
Such
we
a good
mentioned
show.
oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't
And
get
then
enough.
Johnny Young Bosch as well, like, because he's in it, and he's such a like. Obviously, I know him from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, like you've
Yeah.
shown my age there, but yeah, when I found out like that he was doing like a ton of voice acting, and then I found out he was in Code Geass, I was like, oh, I didn't know
Oh
he was in Code Geass.
God, I can't gush over that show any hard enough. But we talked about your Final Fantasy inspired gear, Emily, anime inspired gear. What you thinking? What's going through your head for an anime inspired wrestling attire?
Oh, I'm actually like I'm looking at my shelf right now, being like, which ones?
Hmm.
Well, I kind of would need to do Death the Kid.
Well, that's a
I
good
would I
show.
would need to do a Nod to Death, wouldn't I? Like that'd be a good one. I could get like a Shinigami sort of a mask to look like
Yeah.
his dad, you know? That'd be
You could go
sweet.
for an Alucard one from Helsing with the whole
Yeah,
red.
as well. Or I could do Victoria as well. I could
Yes.
do that and come out with a
Just
big
walk
bazooka.
around with a big cannon ready for your matches. That's going to be an intimidating factor.
Oh
uh,
yeah, there's a good few, and then obviously Sailor Moon. That'd be quite fun to do.
yeah.
Inspire gear of that, and I would do like Sailor Chibiusa. I would do her like with the
Okay.
pink because I quite like the pink. So
Yeah,
even though
because we
Mars is
see.
my favorite, but
Yeah. Oh, Mars is a good one. I mean, because we always seen Mercedes Monet, former Sasha Banks, do her Sailor Moon
yep,
inspired gear for last
yep.
year's Royal Rumble. I mean, who
Mhm.
knows if you maybe get a whole Sailor Scouts of teams ready.
So Mercedes could be Sailor Moon.
Hmm.
Emerson could be Sailor Venus because she loves Sailor Venus and she's got Sailor Venus inspired gear. So Emerson Jane could be Venus. I could be Mars. Oh, who could we get to be like Jupiter and Mercury?
Oof.
I'm trying to think of any female wrestlers that I know that like. And I'm already building like my Sailor Scouts already.
Who knows? Maybe this might be a new intimidating faction in the UK scene soon enough. That's the Sailor Scouts. Oh, who knows what we could see in wrestling in 2023? Well, Emily, I very much appreciate you coming on the show, spending time here and talking about what we all love: wrestling, anime, and video games. The top three things
Yep.
we all need. But I always like to highlight, if people have been entertained by your story and want to see you wrestle, what kind of dates have you got coming up for the rest of the year?
Oh, what have I got coming up so far? Oh, let me just get my diary.
Pro Wrestling
So you can
Diary.
catch me in February. So it's the 17th of February, and I'll be at Fair City Wrestling, and you can catch me wrestling Brody Adler for the FCW Women's Championship. So that is very exciting. And then the following week, on the 24th of February, I'm back at W3L defending my W3L Women's Championship against Brody Adler and a
Oh,
falls count anywhere match. So that's not one to be missed.
ooh. Well, you can't even miss a false count anywhere match. It
No,
is going to be
no.
banger after banger of match quality. Hey, I'll be excited. The fans will be excited. And of course, you will leave the reigning and defending champion, Emily. I 100% am assured on that one.
Well, I
Well,
need to
Emily,
keep the
thank you very
streak
much.
going,
Oh, I could keep going, but vocal cords are a bit damaged from nights of drinking on the tune. Got to rest my throat there. But hey, thank you very much, Emily, for tuning in for another episode of the Soul Sessions. You've been a great guest. And all our viewers, Emily's social media links will be in the description below. Check her out. Give her a follow on the Instagram. I have been your host, so thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of the Soul Sessions.